In the intricate art of demolition lies an unpredictable element of surprise. A world where giants fall and cities evolve, but not always as intended. Today we unravel the untold stories of demolitions that were meticulously planned, yet went wildly unpredictable. In 2020, Dallas, Texas was the stage for a demolition that'll be remembered for years, but for all the wrong reasons. An old 11-story building was all set to be brought down. Experts had pored over plans and every explosive was placed with precision. Spectators gathered, cameras rolled, and with a deafening boom, the explosives lit up. Dust filled the air and everyone held their breath for a moment. But as the dust cleared, a surprise awaited. Most of the building was down, but not all of it. The core elevator shaft, sturdy and tall, refused to fall. And just like that, the Leaning Tower of Dallas was born. This stubborn piece of architecture became an instant star. Pictures flooded social media, and folks came from near and far to see the Leaning Tower that wasn't supposed to be.
Pull to the side or slow down to take a look at it on the way home.
Who would have thought this would turn into such a magnet?
I know. It's pretty crazy.
But of course, it couldn't stay that way. A wrecking ball was called in to finish the job. It swung, hit, and finally, the Leaning Tower came crashing down. In Kankiri, Turkey, an old flour factory was set for a dramatic end. People gathered to watch the show, expecting to see it collapse into a pile of rubble. But when the dust and smoke of the explosion cleared, there was a collective gasp. The building didn't fall as it should have. Instead, it leaned heavily to one side, almost like it had decided to sit down instead of falling flat. A mix of disbelief and astonishment filled the air. Imagine an 80-foot building supposed to crash down, now sitting there slanted, stubborn, and dramatic. Engineers were scratching their heads. This wasn't in the plan. The leaning building was now an unexpected celebrity. It's hard to say what happened next with the building. Maybe it still stands there, mocking Turkish engineers. Let's travel to the serene landscapes of Denmark, where a giant 170-foot silo was marked for demolition. Adjacent to it, the city's library and cultural sat quietly, seemingly unaware of the following seismic activity. A demolition expert had woven a net of explosives around the silo. The library and cultural center, ensconced in the demarcated safe zone, were supposed to emerge unscathed, a silent witness to the silo's dramatic descent. Charges erupted and the silo began its anticipated crumble. But one side of the silo refused to yield. The unyielding structure tilted ominously toward the cultural center. A gasp of unexpected dread filled the air in the silence of anticipated destruction. When the silo crashed into the cultural center, the noise was deafening. It was like watching a scene from a terrifying reel. The administrative offices, archive, and music school were suddenly debris-filled. People were in shock. Eyes wide, they watched papers and books from the library fly through the air. In the moments after, a mix of emotions swept through the crowd. There was disbelief because, well, who would have expected that? The silo was supposed to fall the other way, but fortunately, no one was hurt. Amid the chaos, that felt like a small miracle. It didn't take long for the investigation to start, and what did they find? The explosives were set wrong. A simple mistake turned a routine demolition into a headline-making event, a reminder of how quickly things can go south when dealing with structures of this size. Back in 1998, there was a stadium in Pontiac, Michigan that had seen its glory days. The Pontiac Silverdome, once the roaring home of the Detroit Lions, stood silent, awaiting its final curtain call. It was Demolition Day, a moment where science, engineering, and spectacle came together in a grand finale. As always, every explosive was strategically placed to ensure the Silverdome would bow out gracefully. Crowds gathered, the air thick with anticipation. Then, with a ground-shaking blast, the explosives leaped into action. A chorus of booms echoed and the earth trembled. But as the smoke cleared, the Silverdome still stood, scarred but defiant. There it was, a giant in tatters refusing to fall. It was an embarrassing hiccup for the experts, their faces as red as the fiery explosions meant to bring the stadium down. The world watched, and the battered but unbroken Silverdome had stolen the show. But the tale didn't end there. Round 2 was in the offing. Another dance of explosives and steel, another date with destiny, and this time, the Silverdome met the earth with a thunderous crash. In the frosty air of 2005, Sioux Falls, South Dakota was abuzz. The old zip feed mill, a structure that had stood the test of time, was about to meet its end. Engineers had mapped it all out. The air was thick with the hush of expectancy. Then, a resounding boom echoed through the silent air. A dance of smoke and fire wrapped around the old mill as if giving it one last hug before letting it go. But instead of the expected crumble, the zip feed mill dropped straight down and leaned to one side, steadfastly refusing to fall. There it stood, the leaning tower of Sioux Falls, an unexpected monument born for a moment meant to be its end. In the end, the relentless swing of a wrecking ball brought the leaning tower down, a final chapter to a spectacle no one saw coming. The demolition of the zip feed mill wasn't just a planned destruction, it turned into a performance of resilience, a dance between the determined forces of man and the silent, sturdy defiance of a structure unwilling to go gently into the night. So there's this video from Prostojov in the Czech Republic that pretty much everyone and their grandma has seen online. It's of an old clothing factory getting demolished. The company went bankrupt, the building had been gathering dust for years, so it was high time to come down and make room for something new. The demo team got to work, and let me tell you, it started off perfectly. The explosions were going off from left to right, and the building was falling straight down, not swaying too much to any side. It was textbook perfect. But here's where things get wild. Just as everyone was oohing and eyeing, a massive piece of debris, and I'm talking the size of a softball, fell out from the explosion.
Au, que graça. Oh.
It whizzed right past the heads of the people watching, including a guy filming the whole thing. Keep in mind, these folks were standing a quarter mile away. Yeah, you heard that right. One moment they watched this flawless demolition, the next they ducked, trying to avoid getting clobbered by the flying debris. When they played back the footage, it was clear as day. The rock shot through the air, zoomed past about 5 people, threading the needle through the trees. The crazy part? No one got seriously hurt. If your jaw dropped or you just couldn't believe your eyes, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more jaw-dropping content. Stay tuned and let's keep the conversation going.